Hello there, my name is Anna Amelia and I'm from North East Animal Rights, and I'm delighted to invite along Lisa Gawthorne, who is the Managing Director and co-founder of Bravura Foods, sorry, and also a vegan athlete and a world and European champion. So welcome and thank you very much for joining us today for our Saturday Spotlight interview.
My pleasure, my absolute pleasure.
So we'll go straight to the questions if that's okay. So could you tell me how long you've been vegan for and why did you make the change?
Yeah, I've been vegan for 20 years, so I'm actually celebrating my 20th big anniversary this year. And I was vegetarian before I was vegan, so I turned back in 2003, and it was always my aim to turn vegan, to be honest. I was just waiting for a decent amount of products to be able to come out on the market and to facilitate my athletic lifestyle. I was virtually vegan anyway. The only thing that I needed to cut out was milk. Which was because I never really had anything with cheese or butter or eggs in, so I was virtually there anyway. So that was back in 2003. So this is my 5th year of being vegan, and I went vegan purely because I absolutely adore animals, and I wasn't comfortable at all relying on them in any way, shape, or form, either by wearing their products, their byproducts, or by consuming their byproducts as well. So I just wasn't comfortable with that. I always wanted to completely get away from relying on them for any food or clothing or anything like that.
Yeah. So when did you realise? I mean, how long have you been involved in athletics? I'm presuming all the way through your childhood. And at what point did you realise that the plant-based part of that was beneficial to your sports?
Do you know what? I've not always been overly sporty. Throughout school and college, I was more sort of studious and focused on the academic things. It was only really at university that I started running, and then started running kind of like from a club level to battle with anxiety more than anything, to get me through sort of exam periods and things like that. But it was very soon on into my kind of debut in athletics that I could see that, number one, the change from vegetarian to vegan was massive. So skin health was better. But overall, I was comparing myself in conversations to my peers who were struggling with sleep or struggling with digestive disorders. And I was thinking, well, my sleep's brilliant because I'm not having to digest animal protein overnight. My skin's in great condition. I'm sleeping well. I'm waking up refreshed. I've got good mind clarity. So it was very early on into the athletic journey that I thought, you know what, there's actually so many benefits here that are both indirect and direct, particularly in fitness and sport, that you get when you obviously transition to that vegan diet.
I mean, I'm not, not remotely athletic, but obviously I do try to keep fit. But I do hear a lot of people say that the recovery time is better as well. So if they get injured or when they're resting, the recovery time is better. So do you find that that's the case?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's one big thing. And I think a lot of the reason for that is because you get better sleep as well. And also because the diet that we're eating is very high nutrients. And the diet that we're eating is high in, healthy amino acids and plant protein and things like that. And one of the things that my physio says to me when I go on my maintenance program with her, she says, you seem to bounce back faster than any of my other clients. And she's always very curious as that, it's obviously a lot down to your diet, etc. And I think that if you're eating the right things, it's the old adage, isn't it? You are what you eat. If you're eating healthy, good, wholesome foods, that's going to be benefiting you. And I'm very much a bit of a nerd on that. So I'm a qualified vegan nutritionist anyway, and everything I eat is very functional. I mean, don't get me wrong, we have our blowouts the weekends and stuff, but just eating functional, eating very healthy is very important for those quick recovery times. So that's a big difference I've noticed as well, in that some people that I train with, they take 2 or 3 days to bounce back from hard sessions, and I'm there in the morning, fit as a fiddle.
So it makes you wonder why they don't look at you and think, well, I want to try that as well, or they're just so stubborn. So, I saw you on quite recently on a podium winning a major event. So can you tell me about that event, but also what your training regime looks like, kind of like in the build up to the event, and what is a typical day of your meals? What do they look like?
Yeah, absolutely. But this year's just been, so far, this first 6-7 months of the year has been absolutely outstanding for me. So it's been the pinnacle of my athletic career. The podium, well, actually, I ended up being European champion in my age group for sprint duathlon over in Italy in April. And then I went one step further and got the double by becoming world champion in Ibiza in May. And that was just phenomenal. I've been training on the multi-sports circuit now for sort of 7 years. Last year I was fortunate enough to get my first podium and I got a bronze, but coming home with 2 goals this year did my expectations. But the training regime is very tough. I mean, on the 6 months prior to those 2 competitions, sadly for me this year, they were only 6 weeks apart, and normally they're 6 months apart. So my international season was over very, very quick, but that was unbelievable. So it was 7-day training, 3 of those days were double days. And you know, I'm not even a triathlete, so I haven't got that third discipline. I've just got being a duathlete, the running and the bike, but then on top of that I've got strength conditioning as well. So lots of different training, from just from slow jogging right up to interval sessions. Again, same on the bike, some steady state stuff with some high intensity interval sessions, and then lots and lots specific sort of upper body, core and lower body strength and conditioning. So quite grueling, to be honest. And one of the things that I quite enjoyed was having a bit of a break from that when I got back, because it's very, very hard work. And answering your question in regards to a typical training day, what I would eat, the first thing I do in the morning is make sure that I have got enough carbs in my system to be able to perform in my training schedule. So normally that would be something that's the oats or barley or wheat or something along those lines, porridge, etc., which you can eat every now and again with quinoa, and that would be lots of healthy carbs with fruit and berries and stuff to fuel me through those sessions. And then if I've got another heavy afternoon, more carbs then. And then what I tend to do is, as the day goes on and normally the training tails off, I then go sort of slightly heavier on the proteins in the evening. So lunch could be something like a toasted salad. Evening it might be like a seitan stir fry, or bean cassoulet with broccoli and tempeh, or power bowls and things like that, because I love power bowls. And lots of snacks in between there as well, things like rice cakes with peanut butter, corn cakes with banana. So everything that I eat, particularly on those sort of run up to competition or runs up to competition, they tend to be very, very structured, very functional, and it's very much thinking about, what's this food doing for me? Is it going to give me, help me repair? It sounds scientific and it sounds boring, but those are the marginal gains that make a massive impact in the world of athletics.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the food you describe, and it sounds absolutely lovely. It's not. It doesn't sound. I mean, I suppose if you're having that all the time, it must get a little bit more grueling. But it does sound very calorie heavy as well. So presumably you're taking on considerably more calories when you're training.
You have to. You absolutely have to. I mean, it's a schoolboy error if you don't. I mean, quite funny. People say to me, "God, every time I see you, you're eating."
Yeah.
But you really, really have to. I use my Fitness Pal to track everything from making sure my calorie and my macronutrients, so carbs, proteins, fats, are all literally going in. Got to, otherwise, you're just burning it off, and then you're not doing other than destroying your body. So yeah, it's very important to do that and to measure that.
So when you're competing and you're kind of like talking to the people and they see that you're vegan, do you find that there's any negativity towards it, or are people just a bit more on board with it now? Because obviously we've heard, Novak Djokovic, Lewis Hamilton, we see other a lot of tennis players are following plant-based diets, if not necessarily the vegan lifestyle. Do you find people are more curious about it now, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when I first went vegan, and even dating back to when I first started the business of Bravura Foods, it was, I think it was more of a niche back then, and it was more of those very old traditional thoughts of, oh, well, you're a kind of tree-hugging, sandal-wearing hippie, and you don't know much about anything else kind of thing. And then that has very much fast transitioned into the world we live in now, where vegan is no longer mainstream. We've seen a plethora of products that have been launched on the market in the last couple of years that's really kind of put vegan on the maps. I think in the early days it did take a bit of flack, particularly on the sports scene as well, because athletics coaches at the time, they didn't understand what it was all about, and they were like, oh, do animals actually advising wrong, just because they didn't have the intel, they didn't have the data. And I think a lot of people were just tread carefully, because it's fear of the unknown with most people. But because it's been here to stay now, and because there has been a lot of people talking out about it, a huge amount of celebrities, a huge amount of sport, well, it's putting it on the map and it's putting it on people's agendas to think, well, okay, it's here to stay, maybe into it, and then maybe that'll end up being a transition in the long run. So I'd say definitely back in the early stages, there was a little bit more kind of sort of Mickey taking in the early stages, but now it's definitely more curiosity. I mean, my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, every day there's someone saying, actually, can I just ask you this question? I've recently gone vegan, and what do you recommend this? And I love it because I love helping people on that journey. So there is definitely an air of curiosity. And you can see that with regards to the demands that's obviously fueling things like more documentaries, more books, movies that are talking about it. It's even getting mentioned in soaps like Emmerdale and Coronation Street.
Yeah.
Definitely more curiosity out there now, and that's nice to be part of. Yeah,
you mentioned books as well. You've written a book, haven't you, called Gone in 60 Seconds? So do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, Gone in 60 minutes.
Sorry, 60 minutes.
Actually, I wrote that back in 2012, and that is just like a bite-sized health and fitness saviour, particularly if you are on a diet. And it's called Gone. It's because I was fed up of reading loads and loads of books and journals about fitness that were like this big. I just wanted a nice, succinct book that says, if you really want to make a difference, these are the things that you need to be taking. This is how regularly doing it. And there's a perpetual 16-week calendar in that as well. So that's on Amazon, and that's something that does, does really well. And then recently I've launched the Vegan Deck as well, which is a deck, 7 informative and illustrative cards, all about everything and all the questions that everybody has surrounding the vegan lifestyle. So writing for vegan magazines and authoring certain products has been just part of my journey into sharing that information and sharing that passion as well. Yeah.
So some of us, like me, are not so athletic, but we just want to be fitter. I mean, what we've been doing is we've been following Hench Herbivores meal plans. So I feel so much, it's all the things you described at the beginning, sort of your skin is better, you feel so much fitter as well. But are there any particular foods or superfoods that you would recommend people who would kind of like, we've mentioned tofu already and power bowls. Is there anything that you would recommend people should have in their diet consistently to try and be a little bit fitter?
Yeah, absolutely. First, quinoa is a massive one. A little bit of an unsung hero, and I think it's very versatile, so you can make hot meals with that. As I use it for porridge as well. So the versatility of that and the fact that it's full of all 9 essential amino acids is fantastic as well. And it's actually got quite a nice bit of protein in it. I also recommend that try a lot of different proteins, because sometimes you get a bad taste in your mouth if you have one bad tasting product. It makes you think, oh, I'm not going to taste it, anything else. And it's very important to try and taste things and mixing your proteins up. Sometimes have tofu or seitan, other times you mix beans and legumes, etc. I think when it comes to vegetables, I always say stick to the cruciferous vegetables with as many meals as you can. Get your broccoli in there, get your cauliflower in there, get your kale and your spinach and things like that. Full of iron, full of so many nutrients that nourish the body from within. When it comes to fruit, if you can have as many berries in your diet as well, particularly blueberries, they're unbelievable. Always an original, but full of antioxidants and great for a little burst of energy before workouts. And I'd also say a really easy way to remember things as well is try and choose brown over white. So choose brown bread over white bread, choose brown pasta over white pasta, and choose brown rice, whole grain rice over white. Moving away from those beach foods and moving more of the whole grain processed food, less processed food is really important. It's healthy for the body anyway. So I would say to people, if you can't stick to a fully clean and fully whole foods diet, just try and do as much of it as you can through the week, and then just have your stuff in the weekend, because everything's in moderation. Go for all the vegan junk food and the vegan hot dogs, burgers and cookies and cakes, which we all love anyway. Great that they're there as a choice, but I tend to say try and stick to whole foods during the week and then the weekend, and that seems to work well with most.
Yeah, well, that's what we try to do, because when we do our outreach, on the Saturday, and we go to Supernatural, which is a cafe up there who does amazing vegan food. So that's when we have our blowout. And then the Monday to Friday again, we start again, go back to the Hench Herbivore one. But it's great. I mean, we do feel so much better So we talked about obviously the reason why you turned vegan. So you're vegan rather than plant-based, which is an important thing to note. So do you feel a moral obligation to speak out for animals through what you do? And obviously you have a food company as well, a food distribution company. So do you feel a moral obligation to do that?
Yeah, I do actually. Since I came out of uni, I always made it very clear. I mean, I had lots of job offers from big companies, but I wouldn't go to them because they produced animal products. I turned down biggest opportunities, and people couldn't get over it in the university. But I deliberately only wanted to work in the initial stages of vegetarian companies, and then it went into vegan companies. And it was always my lifelong aim to start a vegan company and to really address some gaps in the market. So what we do is obviously we focus on vegan confectionery and put things out there that aren't already out there. So it's always been a massive part of my life. I've never really myself doing anything else. And it also comes naturally. You tend to fall into these pockets in life if you're on the right road. I started with Eurofoods. That ended up leading to a little bit of authoring. It ended up to doing columns in vegan magazines. I've been sports for the last sort of 20 years. That's led itself into me going into vegan runners and doing initiatives that way. Being figurehead really in that respect, and it comes natural to me. I don't feel that any of it's forced. I don't feel any of it's too preachy, and I just feel like, I know it sounds corny, but I feel like if someone says to you, what do you think you were put on this earth to do? My first thing that I ever think about is protect animals. That's all I ever think about. And I often, maybe I was a gazelle in my past life that was maybe some happened to me, but I really feel a big kind of, it's like a natural sort of warmth around my soul that makes me want to look out after the animals and also just be a voice for them, because there's nothing better and nothing more morally amazing in my book than being a voice for the voice.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it is a very, very difficult job at some time, and some days, when we're doing rescues and things, and kind of you stand outside of slaughterhouses, it's just so sad. But then the other side of it is, it's we have to do this, we must do this, and sometimes you actually get to see the successes as well, improvements and progress and stuff. So yeah, I feel like it is kind of like something that you kind of put on this earth to do. You don't realize that when you're born, kind of like until you maybe later on. For me, it was when I was 14. But it's kind of like how you're describing it. You feel like this drive to do it all the time, don't you?
Yeah, totally. Well, I went vegetarian at age 6, and my mum and dad couldn't believe it.
Wow. Yeah.
My door from PETA, and it shows you about the farming, and it was done very communicative to kids. And I looked at it and said to my mum and dad, "Is that really what we're eating?" And they were like, "Well, yeah." And I said, "Well, I'm not going to do that from this day on." And they thought it was a bit bad, and eventually they realised she doesn't want to do it. So I've been pretty headstrong from day one with that. But yeah, I think it just it's there constantly, but it just feels so natural and so right.
Yeah. So what's next for you then? I mean, you're obviously very, very busy. So what are you up to at the moment, and what's coming up next?
Well, very busy with the moment, so just literally working on some new product launches there and working on expanding in some new areas. The big launch for us at the moment is the vegan deck, which is slowly getting out into the marketplace. And that's important because obviously it's spreading knowledge, spreading awareness, and it's a project built on a lot of passion and dedication. Athletics wise, I think now that I've got to the top in my multi-sport kind of journey and have achieved something that's been really meaningful to me, I really want to focus on my running, because that was always my key strength anyway, out of the running and biking. And I'm going to be concentrating on some run specific goals this year, and really chasing down some PBs. And I've got a great coach who I work with who literally we've got a good plan. So I'm quite confident that we should be able to continue this awesome journey that we seem to have been on for the last few years, where we're just smashing it out of the park.
Sounds absolutely amazing. Sounds amazing. Well, we're running out of time now, so I just wanted to say thank you very much, and congratulations on all your achievements so far. Honestly, you're an inspiration. It's so good to see a female athlete as well, a female athlete who is plant-based and vegan, the whole thing, not just following the plant-based part of it, and kind of leaving the animals out of it as well. So thank you very much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it, and best of luck getting those PBs. And we're sure you're going to get them, and good luck with everything else you're doing as well.
Oh, thank you very much.
So I'm going to sign off now. So this is Anna Amelia from North East Animal Rights saying thank you very much again to Lisa Gawthorne, and good luck for everything you do in the future.
Thank you.